Hey friends, in today's video, I'm gonna be counting down my top 10 vintage brands to resell that you'll actually find. Think classic Americana, cult status, outerwear, and so much more. And no fluff here. I've made well over $100,000 net profit flipping clothes just like these. I'll show you what to look for, what moves fast, and how to spot resale gold. Let's get into it. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. My name is LeeMeier. If you're wondering who I am and why I'm talking about this, is because I've made well over $100,000. That is net profit after cost of goods, after all of those pesky fees. And I share this to show you what is possible for you, even if you're a small town reseller. For me, when I first heard about reselling, I started looking at all the thrift stores around me and going, there's nothing good to flip. And I did not think that reselling would work for me. But then I discovered vintage items. I discovered unusual items to flip, and everything changed. And in this video, I'm gonna be giving you my best info on what to look for. And a lot of these, for whatever reason, resellers pass over. But after this video, you'll know exactly what to look for. So let's dive right on into that first brand. Again, I've created this list off of brands that you'll actually find, not just those obscure once-in-a-lifetime brands. All right, so brand number one is LL Bean. Now, a lot of the brands that I'm gonna be sharing with you in this video are what I call heritage brands. They're brands that have been around for a very long time, and most of them are still in existence today. LL Bean is no exception, and this brand has a very good following, especially when it comes to outdoor wear and things like coats and flannel. The resale price on most of their vintage items is pretty solid, in the $50 to $100 range for most items. Some you can get a little bit more for. This is a canvas jacket, very typical for this brand. It was listed at $75 and a best offer of $64 was accepted. And then this is a chore or barn coat from LL Bean. You're gonna see several of this style of coat throughout this video. This is a very popular trend. This one from LL Bean went for $55. Now, one of the secrets to making money with clothes is to think about accessories. And here for LL Bean, there can be some really big money if you come across these canvas totes. They're boat and tote. Older styles are selling especially well, especially high prices, even with flaws. This is an example of one here that was listed for $590 and it sold for $525. By the way, if you haven't grabbed my free brands list, you'll find that down in the description below this video. That is the list of brands that has led me to the $100,000 mark and beyond. Eddie Bauer is another one of those brands that has been around for a very long time. And I do find that especially with this brand, a lot of resellers walk right by because these can be very unassuming pieces. They're usually solid colors and they don't really grab your attention or stick out a whole lot. But there can be gold with this brand. When it comes to vintage, as well as their current items, down-filled coats are where it's at. This is an example of a down parka. It was listed for $245 and a best offer of $150 was accepted. Leather jackets are also quite common with Eddie Bauer. This is one that sold for $91 on sale. And if you can find leather coats that are also down-filled, those can fetch even more money. Modest dresses are another one of my favorite things to come across with Eddie Bauer. This is an example of a modest denim dress. Here, I would go ahead and use modest as one of your keywords. This one is actually a new old stock, but that one sold for $80. It's very typical with these style of dresses to sell for right around that $50 price point, even in used condition. And if you come across any Karam or Karakoram, I'm not sure how to say that, any tags with that name, those vintage items are selling for into the hundreds of dollars. This is a coat where there's actually a rip on the sleeve. It's been repaired, but it had 15 bids on it and went for $525. These are definitely collectible items, some of them selling for as much as $700. Field & Stream, another brand that has been around for a while, and there are some really interesting items from this brand. A lot of different looks that you'll come across. This is a trench coat that sold full asking price for $75. A lambskin coat listed at $120 sold for $108. By the way, any lambskin you come across, make sure to comp that out because those are usually some really easy flips for some pretty good profit. And then this is a Western style, almost rockabilly style jacket from Field & Stream that sold for $48. Next up, Orvis. This is another heritage brand with so many vintage items out there. And for whatever reason, it seems that a lot of resellers walk right by these items. So many items just like these I found in places like the Goodwill outlets and the bins where professional reshoppers are going through everything and leaving these types of items behind. Why? I don't know, but they've made some pretty good $50 to $150+ flips. Here's some examples for you. This hunting jacket with large cargo pockets, this was listed at $200 and went for $100. This hat from Imperial Hardware, but it has the Orvis logo on the front. This one went for $89. This canvas with leather trim duffel bag, it's also got a leather bottom there, a few scratches, very typical on bags and with older vintage leather. And this one went for $120. By the way, if you come across other bags like these from less recognizable brands, go ahead and comp them out. Most of them do really well. Now, you may have noticed that most of these items are men's items, and you are going to come across more men's items with all of these brands. There's just more of them out there, but they usually sell for more money as well. But I did have to show this women's item. This is from Orvis, and this is a cardigan fall themed sweater. This one went for about $77 on sale. Next up, Land's End. This brand tends to sell for a little bit less than some of the others that we've mentioned, but it can still be a very profitable flip. And again, one that other resellers usually leave behind. This is a men's 100% wool sweater with a mock neck that sold for $99. Land's End also made those canvas bags that look very similar to the LL Bean Boat & Tote. You're not gonna get as much money for the Land's End ones, but again, they still could be a pretty good flip for you. This Land's End bag here sold for $75. And with many of the brands that we've mentioned so far, you may come across items that are made with Harris tweed. This is almost a special certification for tweeds that are made in Scotland, and you will almost always see the brand tag as well as a separate tag indicating that that item has been made with Harris tweed. Anytime you come across these types of items, that can be a really good indication that that item may be worth a little bit more. This Land's End blazer made with Harris tweed was listed at $150 and it went for $110. To learn more about tweed and other types of fabrics that buyers are after, then you'll want to check out my fabric guide I'm gonna link to here. Next up, Pendleton. This is one of my favorites to come across, and I'll tell you why. Almost every single item holds its resale value, especially men's items. Even flawed with moth holes, these items can make great flips. Most Pendleton items have a certain kind of look to them. And this is a shearling trim coat that is very consistent with this brand's look. This one went for $399. And their board shirts are another big seller. They're newer items as well as their older vintage board shirts. From the 60s, you're gonna find a loop at the collar. That is the quickest way to be able to identify these older items. These shirts are button up, 100% wool, and they make an easy $100. Some will go for a little bit more, like this one here that was listed for $350 and it sold for $230. And certain women's items from this brand can also make a good flip. This is a women's robe here. Nothing too crazy going on with this one, but it sold for $80. And I'll never forget the time at the bins when the other professional resellers threw a bundled up plaid fabric bundle, for lack of better words. I untied it and found out that it was a Pendleton robe that had been all folded up and tied together with that belt. That was about the quickest $100 I've ever made. Before we get to that next brand, I would love to invite you to check out the Empowered Reseller membership program. This is for resellers who are serious about taking their income to that next level. We're all about working smarter, not harder. Each and every month, I give my VIPs free access to my monthly sourcing boxes. These are deep dives into lucrative clothing niches designed to help you never walk by profitable items again. As a VIP, you not only get those monthly sourcing boxes, but you get access to my entire Empowered Reseller course vault, my VIP community, Q&A days, plus at least as of the filming of this video, I'm even giving away a free gift of my entire Keywords That Sell bundle. This is all of my Keywords That Sell posters, as well as Keywords That Sell guides. They're yours free, yours to keep when you join. You'll find all of the details down in the description below this video, and I would love to be able to welcome you into our community soon. Woolrich, another vintage brand that tends to fly low on the radar. And again, so many items to be had here, both with men's and women's items. This is a plaid wool coat with that pea coat style sailor's neck that sold for $130 after a best offer. Now, many of these brands have tried to mimic that Pendleton Aztec tribal look, and Woolrich is no exception. Most of these style items, no matter the brand, are gonna be worth picking up. This Woolrich Pendleton lookalike coat was listed at $140 and it went for $110. You're also gonna come across a lot of sweaters when it comes to the Woolrich brand. A lot of these sweaters have very unique scenery, very unique themes. This one has row houses on it along with the dog, and this women's sweater was listed at $126 and went for $95. You're also gonna notice there on the tag where it says British Hong Kong, a very good confirmation that this is indeed a vintage item. And a more rare find, but I have to point this out because I don't want you to miss out on this. If you come across any items with these wide primary color stripes, these are selling for into the hundreds. You're gonna see this with jackets as well as blankets. And this hooded jacket here was listed at $200 and it went for $175. One of the keywords that you're gonna see selling here is Hudson Bay. Although these are not Hudson Bay Company items, those wide bulky stripes are associated with Hudson Bay. Next brand, Michael Simon. This is not what I would call a heritage brand, but there can be some really good profits with these items. These are very unique, very themed items. The best sellers being sweaters. This is a bunny sweater or Easter themed sweater, not sold anywhere near Easter, and it went for $220 full asking price. And you're gonna come across pretty much every single holiday that you can think of with this brand. This is an example of a Halloween vest here, very 3D, very textured. So many fun details with this one. It's got a spider there hanging off of a spider web, and this one went for $100. Besides those holidays, pretty much any theme that you can think of is going to sell with this brand. I've seen frogs, I've seen cats, I've seen dogs. This is an equestrian themed sweater that was listed at $375 and it went for $320. And if you do come across any Disney collabs with this brand, those can sell for a few $100s. Gunny sacks, another brand that I practically dance over when I come across. These are gold. The best money are items from the 70s, with the 80s being a close second. This is another one where flawed items are usually still worth flipping. I've personally been able to get as much as $100 even for items with large flaws. But it of course depends on the styles and the features of the items. Corset fronts are one of the more popular looks with this brand, where it laces up the bust. This is an example of a dress here with a corset front as well as a contrasting belt, and this one went for $350 full asking price. One word of caution here is that you're gonna wanna be very careful with the sizing and for sure give dimensions. You should in all of your listings, but especially with this brand. The example here is a size 7 and the seller listed that as a size small because vintage sizes are drastically different than today's sizes. So again, give dimensions. I've never had any of these returned. Like I mentioned, dresses from the 80s with this brand can also do pretty well, but in most cases, they don't sell for quite as much as those from the 70s. This is a Gunny Sacks straight out of the 80s, polka dots, strapless, ruffles. This is a size 5, very small size, but it still went for $65. And like most brands, the more unique items, the more unique designs are going to sell for more money. This is a dress with a very rare print that has roosters on it. It's also got that corset front and it went for $600. Do not be afraid to price high with these items and delay on accepting offers or turn off that option altogether. Poshmark is another platform where this brand also does really well. And my #1 favorite brand, but it's kind of like picking a favorite child, Filson. This is a brand that is a little bit less likely to come across, but a lot of times professional resellers leave behind flawed items and those can still be some really good money. We're talking even hundreds of dollars. Their most iconic style, Mackinaws, and especially plaid Mackinaws. This is a buffalo plaid Mackinaw that was listed for $550 and it went for $484. Coats in all styles like this from this brand are usually selling for into the hundreds of dollars. Those flawed items that I mentioned, I picked up a Mackinaw from Filson a few years back. So dirty and just gross. I didn't know whether to pick it up, but I did, and I'm so thankful. I ended up taking it to a dry cleaner and spending about $17 to get it all cleaned up and looking nice. It had a few moth nips here and there. Got it listed, turned around and sold it for $250. Definitely worth that little bit of investment. But really, all items from this brand sell at a high profit typically. Bags. If you come across any leather bags or canvas with leather trim, that can be another item that is selling for into the hundreds of dollars. This canvas with leather trim bag here was listed for $490 and it sold for $420, even with a few flaws. Also keep an eye out for their hats. These are another one where it's really easy for resellers to miss. I'm not sure if it's just because of the size or what it is, but tiny often equals profitable. This tin cloth waxed hat, these have such a unique feel to them. If you haven't seen these before, you'll know instantly the first time you come across this type of material. It's prized for its rain repellency. This hat sold for $79. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here because it's showing this hat was listed at $65. My guess is it's possibly because of an international sale and exchange rates. But either way, these types of items can make some really good flips. And that's a wrap on my top 10 vintage brands to resell that you'll actually find. Of course, there's a ton more legendary labels that I didn't get to, like Levi's, Abercrombie & Fitch, and even some newer vintage brands from the 90s and Y2K era. And I'll be covering these in future videos. So many vintage gold mines that move fast. Now, if you're looking to double your views and double your sales, then you're gonna wanna stick around for this next video where I show you how to use style keywords to get in front of the right buyers. See you there.